It is 26 till 5 at your drive home on Ruscin and Zach, powered by Mr. Sparky.
Need a licensed electrician to service your home? Give us a jingle, or just use this one.
You don't have to put up with anyone like it. Call 888-8-SPARKY.
For local pros, call Mr. Sparky.
You've seen him on the SEC Network, and he's not just saying that because he's on the phone. He really is one of my favorite people to watch and learn about football from on the SEC Network. Gene Chizik is our guest here on Ruscin and Zach. Coach, it's good to talk to you. How are you?
Good afternoon, guys. It's always a pleasure to be on radio station there in Arkansas. You know, you guys are kind of my home away from home with the Broyles Award, and got a lot of good friends there. So it's a pleasure to be on with you guys.
Coach, we had you on about a year ago, and you were talking about some of the schemes that Barry Odom was running and how successful he was through his first 3 games at Arkansas last year. I was curious. I mean, I know you're a defensive guy. It's the first thing you're going to look at. I'm curious about the evolution of this defense. It just looks like not only does he have great schemes now, he's just got guys that can flat out play.
Yeah, it really does, guys. And I think it's kind of the chicken or the egg theory, right? That these guys become so good because of the way Barry teaches it. And you know, when you see great team defense, normally that's because, you know, it's a reactionary game and these guys don't have to think. They react extremely fast. And when you look at this defense, I mean, it doesn't matter, you know, who you watch. They all play fast. I mean, is it Grant Morgan? Is it Catalan? Is it Poole? Is it Fouché? I mean, everybody plays fast on the defense. And that's usually a product of simplicity. And I love watching these guys play because they're relentless in the pursuit of the football. They tackle well in the open space. And I think Barry does a great job of not only communicating with these guys, but, you know, knows what they can do best. He's got a lot of confidence in them. And the way they play is they just give people fits. And let me tell you, the 3 transfers that they got that are on the defensive line certainly don't hurt either. So now they got some really good depth. So I love watching them play. I love the scheme. I think Barry Odom is one of the best in the business. And, you know, it's paying, you know, the fruits of all of their labor is paying off now.
So, Coach, you know, kind of break it down for us. Just what that nobody gets. It seems to. I mean, they had the one big bust last week against Texas A&M on that long run, but the rest of the game, I mean, no one's. Not only are they not surrendering big plays or giving up a ton of points or anything, but no one really ever gets behind them. I mean, you look at some of the replays on situations where quarterbacks are scrambling around. There's nobody open downfield.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, it's going to be interesting. Tomorrow night on our TV show, I'm going to talk about the importance of coverage sacks. And when you look at coverage sacks, you look, you know, yeah, they might be rushing 3, but the problem is they got 3 guys that can get pressure on the quarterback, and there's nobody open. And I think it's a great scheme where, you know, Barry plays different coverages, but it's so sound. Everybody knows where they're supposed to be. I see wheel routes and things of that nature open on everybody. Well, I never see him get open on Arkansas. I see deep down the field switch routes. They find ways to get guys to switch them off. They just know where they're supposed to be. I mean, you go back and you look at the 167-yard touchdown run last week, you know, against A&M. It was a misfit in the front, and then, you know, safety was a little bit out of position, and he missed the tackle, which you don't see very often in this defense. And other than that, they rushed for 60 yards the rest of the night. So very few mistakes are being made on this defense. Guys know where they're supposed to fit, both in the run game and the pass game. I really love watching the secondary play. And again, less is more, right? He does, you know, a few things really, really great, and therefore you see great execution on game day.
Georgia's offense matching up with this defense. This feels like a low-scoring game to me. It doesn't feel like anybody's getting to the 30s. It's just going to be one of those old-fashioned slobber knockers. Is that kind of the way you're feeling about this?
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be a defensive struggle. You know, it's going to be a defensive game. Two defenses that are completely different in how they're built and the nature of what they do. But I think it's going to be one of those type of games. You know, I think Georgia is, you know, they're built on running the football. That's what they believe in. And schematically, this defense gives offensive line coaches issues because of the way they run fit, where they're coming from. You know, when you play with essentially 6 DBs in the game like Barry does, you know, you have to target these guys. It's not just about pass protection and who you're working to and who you have if this blitz comes or that blitz comes. when you are running the football and there's movement and there's different guys fitting from different levels of the defense, you're not really sure exactly where. If you look at the structure of the defense, you're always going to see typically 5 guys that are in the box with other guys fitting from other places, right? So you can target those 5, but those 5 aren't necessarily going to be there when the ball snaps. So where's the other guys coming from? Where are they moving to? Those are the schematic challenges for an offense. So for Georgia to be able to run the football, they have to win. I mean, that's what they have to do to win. And the bottom line is they can't put it on a pass game right now, and that's not how they were built. So be looking for that as a game within the game. Exactly how is Georgia targeting these guys in the run game to get them blocked? That's the challenge.
Gene Chizik from the SEC Network is our guest here on Ruscin and Zach. Let's flip it around a little bit. When you look at, because maybe not a lot of Arkansas fans have watched a lot of Georgia this year. Georgia, from a defensive standpoint, what do you see there?
I see a defense that's extremely athletic, really fast, and they're the other team in the league, guys. When I watch every other team other than Arkansas, these are the 2 teams, and I've said this on TV a million times, these are that execute the calls at an extremely high level. Georgia's a little bit different because they love to bring 5-man, sometimes 6-man pressure, both on runs and passes. These guys know exactly where they're supposed to be. They've had very few busts in their defense in the first several games. So they execute at a high level. They got a lot of depth. They rotate probably anywhere from 8 to 10 guys in the front 5, meaning the 3 defensive linemen they have and the linebackers. So they'll play, 10-ish, sometimes even 12. So they've got that kind of depth. They're all fast. There's not a drop-off when you see the guy, and I don't even want to call him the backup because to me they all look like starters. There just happens to be 10 of them in the front 7. So, they're just very deep. They run well. But I think the common denominator when you look at Arkansas and Georgia is the way they execute on defense. It's amazing to watch. It's fun to watch, and I love watching both defenses play.
Gary Danielson said something last week, and there's no better person to ask than you about this. They were comparing KJ Jefferson to a guy you know really well, Cam Newton. Do you see any of Cam's game in KJ Jefferson?
Well, I think KJ's a young guy that potentially could develop his game to that level. I haven't watched and seen enough of him sample size-wise to know exactly where he'll end up in terms of, what is his ceiling. But what I've seen, guys, that really impresses me is a guy that game by game gets better. And I'm going to tell you something, when he went out last week and came back into that game, particularly at the end when he sealed it with it was a design quarterback run. This guy's got something about him now. He's got moxie. He's got toughness. I can totally see how he commands the locker room. He's got a command presence about him. You love the fact that he's a 6'4", 240-plus pound guy. They usually fudge on those weights, so maybe he's 250. I don't know. But I just love the progression. He's thrown the ball better. He's starting to hit his targets. He's moving and throwing the ball well on the run. Obviously, he's a huge, and this is what Cam brought to us, was a huge presence in the quarterback run game. And I know over the years, Kendal Briles has liked to have that kind of guy, like with Robert Griffin back in the Baylor days. He loves having a guy that can bring that headache to a defensive coordinator because that gives you a whole new respect for the offense. And look, combined with what, Traylon Smith's done, and all the, there's all kinds of new guys coming, A.J. Green, there's new guys coming on the scene that can run the ball at the tailback spot. So I love what this offense poses, but the progression so far of K.J. Jefferson has been outstanding. And so this is the next step, right? This is the next step for him on a national stage. Now everything is going to be, top 10 versus top 10. If they keep winning, what does it look like then?
Yeah, I mean, it's been remarkable. I think there were a lot of people, Coach, that may have believed in Sam Pittman and thought he could turn this program around. but I don't think many saw that they would be number 14 number 8 in the country after going into his 15th game as the head coach here.
No, I would totally agree. And, you go back even to last year, and, if you want to look at hard numbers, and that's why stats lie, they were 3-7. If you just look at and walk away, you go, that was below average. Go back and really watch those guys play. 3 of those games, I think, were a touchdown or less when they lost. Now you're at 6 wins out of 10. And let's keep in mind that was an all-SEC schedule last year, right? With all of the things, new coaching staff, trying to get to know the players when essentially, you can't even have them in meetings until the season starts. New offenses, new defenses. There were so many challenges to that. And the way these guys played, I could see it in the way they played. I don't look necessarily always at just the win-loss column. I saw things starting to change last year. The great thing about Sam Pittman is he's authentic. And what you see is what you get. And let me tell you something. There's nothing more scrutinized by an 18 to 22-year-old kid as a new coach. They're looking at you like, okay, let me see where the flaws, let me see where the warts are. Is this guy authentic? Is he legit? What is he? Well, you're seeing what you get. You're getting a guy right now that is legit. He is authentic, and he does have a plan. And I couldn't be more thrilled for him. And I couldn't be more thrilled for the Arkansas fan base because, quite frankly, the better Arkansas is and you got another player in the West, the more exciting this league becomes.
In today's offensive-heavy world, how important is a guy like Trey Williams coming off the edge to sort of disrupt what teams are doing? This guy has been unblockable through 3 games, and I don't see anybody that's going to slow him down.
Yeah, isn't it amazing? I had to go back and watch him on film this week, guys, because I was sitting there watching the A&M game, and I'm just watching him. He gets 2 sacks in the game. He's got tackles for loss. If he's not sacking the guy, he's getting quarterback hurries. And what's amazing, he's doing this for lion's share on a 3-man rush. And if you can't do the math, I'll help everybody that's listening. It's usually 5 offensive linemen blocking, sometimes 6 versus 3, which means that there's 2 guys left to look and help elsewhere, and they still can't block him. He's been fun to watch. He's relentless. He looks like he loves playing the game. These are the kind of guys that can change programs. And again, when you have a guy that's that dominant, that plays that hard, and the urgency of being a great football player obviously is at the forefront of everything he thinks, the greatest thing about that is that he brings the level of play up with everybody around him because they're all trying to match each other. And let's not stop there. You can go ahead and you can look at Bumper Pool. You can look at Hayden Henry. You can look at Grant Morgan, the way these linebackers come downhill and fly around the football. So they're just fun to watch as a group, but I can tell you Trey Williams, you're going to be hearing a lot more about him as this season unfolds.
Gene Chizik's our guest from the SEC Network here on Ruscin and Zach. I want to bounce around the league here in our final couple minutes with you, Coach, and just a thought on Alabama and Ole Miss this weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be a great game, and again, you're looking at contrast is now you're looking at 2, potential Heisman Trophy quarterbacks, right? You got to kind of flip the script. Now you're looking at offenses, but I still think this game is going to come down to which defense can execute. Which defense right now can slow both of these dynamic offenses down? You've got, Matt Corral, who, he looks unbelievable, and people forget how good of a runner he is. And, as far as where he is on the team in rushing yards and things of that nature, he's the leading rusher when it comes to touchdowns. You get him in the red zone, he's going to carry the ball. So he is fantastic. Bryce Young is a star in the making. Keep watching him. He's young right now. He's got a lot of growth ahead of him, but, boy, he's got some tools on him. And this game is going to really be interesting. The fact that it's in Tuscaloosa is obviously a huge advantage for Alabama. But I think in the end right now you're going to look at defenses and say, who busted coverages? Who couldn't handle the tempo? Could Alabama handle Ole Miss's tempo? Could they handle the run game? Did they misfit things? Did they turn the wheel routes loose? And then on the other side, you can see the same thing. In the Miami game, they got out of hand quick. It was because they busted coverages. They couldn't handle the over routes, things of that nature. And if you have some routes that are running wide open, what I've seen from Bryce Young up to this point, he's going to find them and hit them. So, look, you got to minimize the damage defensively with both of these offenses, and whoever does that the best, I think, wins.
Coach, you told me a story one time, and you actually came up in a conversation the other day. Everybody remembers the year at Auburn, you win the national title, but people forget you were the defensive coordinator in one of the most memorable games, at least of this century, which was the Rose Bowl between Texas and USC. And I did a terrible job explaining the 4th down and 1, where USC takes Reggie. This is USC with Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush. They've got a 4th down and 1. They get the first down. Game's over. The Vince Young drive never happens. But you knew something that week when they went Lendale White into the game. And I'll let you pick it up from here. You told me about this one time, and again, I just want everybody to understand you are one of the best defensive coordinators in the last 25 years. I mean, what you did that day was incredible.
Well, I appreciate that, guys. Yeah, it's one of the most memorable moments of my career. It was 4th and 1, and really everything was on the line. I think at the time we were down by 5, and if they get the first down, it's over. And so, we had prepared the exact call for a 4th and 1 to win the game. I mean, we had 38 days, if I remember correctly, 30 to 38 days, somewhere in there to practice for this. And I always loved situational football, right? Putting them in situations that, you know what, guys, when we get into this situation, yeah, you need to look to see what the call is, but you already know what I'm going to call. And it was amazing. They trotted Lendale White onto the field and took Reggie Bush, who is he's a generational player. And our guys knew exactly what was going on. They knew exactly what the call was going to be. I called the call. The safeties crowded up to the line of scrimmage, and they ran exactly what we thought they were going to run with Lendale White. We knew there wasn't going to be any play action. There wasn't going to be anything. He was a 230-pound tailback, and you could see Michael Huff and Michael Griffin, our safeties, both first-rounders. They crept right up towards the line of scrimmage, and when they ran it, our guys, they were able to make the stop. And what's ironic is, if you go back and look at it, we played great in the first half, but that might have been the only stop we got in the second half. But, hey, it came in a timely fashion, right? And then, of course, the rest is history with Vince taking the offense down and scoring. And that was a part of my first national championship I ever won. And so those are great memories, and I appreciate you asking me about that because that was a great time in my career as well.
When you see that game like on ESPN, do you just sort of like grin and go, yeah, we had him that night?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I sit there and I watch that game that gets replayed, on the ESPN channel. And, I just remember it's so funny when you're a coach, you never forget certain moments in that game, how you felt, what you were thinking, all of those things. And it just, it brings back a lot of memories. But obviously when we went down and scored with literally almost no time left and then went for 2 and got it, I just remember the relief in the press box. And man, it was that was a special time, and more than anything, I was so happy for Coach Brown, who had coached all those years, and that was the first time and his only time that he won the national championship, so I was just so proud for him as well.
Gene Chizik, you can watch him breaking it down on the SEC Network. Coach, we really appreciate the time today. Thank you so much.
Guys, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it, and it's going to be a great game this weekend. I'm sure everyone's going to be tuned in.
Oh, absolutely. All right, Gene Chizik, everybody, with us here on Ruscin and Zach. You can watch him on the SEC Network.
We're back and better than ever. All eyes are on the gridiron as teams are back for another football season. As always, BetOnline is your #1 spot for all the pro and college football action this season. With the new updated site and interface, even more odds, props, and contests, BetOnline continues to be the #1 source for everything football. Head to your website or use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Don't forget to use our promo code BELIEVE to receive your bonus. That's BLEAV. From football, basketball, boxing, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of these amazing offers for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts.